When you see these animals being freed for the first time, it can really hit you just how cruel people can be for the sake of profit. But it's not all doom and gloom. Thanks to caring and compassionate people, many of these beings are finally getting the long-awaited freedom. In this video, you'll see the most notable cases where animals gain a new life. Stay with us to witness how they take their first step to freedom. Stay with us to witness how they do it. The first step to freedom. The release of Sukjai. Sukjai spent 73 years of her life in the harshest conditions, doing work forced upon her by people. She carried tourists, transported loads, enduring beatings from her handler. Every time she refused to follow orders. The scars on her body were a testament to the years of cruelty she endured. Sukjai's health has seriously deteriorated. She has gone completely blind and has partially lost her hearing. But one day, fate smiled upon the elephant. Upon learning about her dire situation, the Safe Elephant Foundation, which focuses on protecting and preserving the population of Thai elephants, decided to rescue the animal. The organization achieved Sukjai's release and arranged for her move to a nature park where she could spend the rest of her days in peace and freedom. The move turned out to be a tough ordeal for the elderly elephant. As they led her to the truck, she trembled with fear. The whole way, Sukjai raised her trunk, trying to catch the sense of her surroundings, as if she were trying to understand where they were taking her. The volunteer from the foundation who accompanied the elephant took care of her, treating her wounds and trying to comfort her. On the way, they had to stop to gather leaves and fruits from banana trees for Sukjai, since she was extremely hungry. This move was the first step toward a new life for Sukjai, since she was extremely hungry. The move was the first step towards a new life for Sukjai. For the first time in many years, she could act at her own discretion, without fear of cruel punishment. She was surrounded by care and love, something she had never experienced before. And then something amazing happened. Tears streamed from Sukjai's eyes. What made her cry? Fear of the unknown. Or maybe it was the realization of the impending change in her fate and the long-awaited freedom. No one really knew what feelings the elephant was experiencing at that moment. Finally, Sukjai arrived at her new home. In the sanctuary, where she would live alongside other rescued elephants. Despite the loss of sight and hearing, she confidently got out of the truck and headed straight for the pond. It seemed like she understood that she was finally in a safe place. This moment filled the hearts of everyone present with hope for the last years of her life. 73-year-old Sukjai will spend her days in peace and tranquility. Coming home. A Japanese crane named Jura spent a whole year in captivity, but now he has finally found freedom. He added to the list of animals that successfully rehabilitated at the safari park in Primorsky Krai, Russia. The park staff nicknamed Jura the Deserter. This crane easily flew over the 3-meter fence of the aviary, wandered nearby, but always came back. Even though the caretakers enjoyed taking care of him, they realized that this wild bird longed for freedom. Jura came under human care in the fall of 2009. Hunters found an exhausted chick that had fallen behind the flock and handed it over to wildlife inspectors. At first, he was placed in a private zoo, where he spent the winter. In the spring, he was moved to the safari park for rehabilitation. The weakened crane could barely walk. Nurseries fed him and helped him fly. Jura was a Dorian crane. The nurseries fed him fish and corn, and in the summer, they helped him regain his ability to fly. At first, it was thought that Jura belonged to the species of Dorian cranes, which number around 5,000 individuals and are considered endangered. However, later on, when the adult birds were shown to the ornithologist, the specialist concluded that this was a Japanese crane. The Japanese crane is even rarer. There are fewer than 2,000 individuals left in the world. After several escape attempts, Jura gained enough strength to finally fly out of the park and not come back. 3 days later, the director of the safari park received a call from a local gamekeeper who reported that the tagged crane had been spotted on his territory. This case ultimately determined the future. Zuri. On the recommendation of ecologists, he was moved to the Konkai Nature Reserve, located about 124 miles from the safari park. It would have been difficult for the crane to cover such a distance on its own. It is at Lake Konka that many of its rare relatives reside. Now, experts are confident that the crane will soon join the flock. The bear was released into the wild after 20 years in captivity. The bear was freed from a cramped cage, where she spent 20 years of her life. We made the video in Romania. It is reported that the animal was kept in the zoo of the city of Pietrăunit. But in 2014, the zoo was closed after numerous complaints from animal rights activists. There was very little space for the bear. Even after being moved to the enclosure, the bear still felt confined. Her walks were just a circle with a diameter of only 7 to 10 feet. I really hope that the bear has recovered and has tasted freedom. Her walks were just a circle with a diameter of only 7 to 10 feet. I really hope that the bear has recovered and has tasted freedom. The condor was kept in captivity for 10 years, and they didn't take care of him. The story of a horse named Quest began in the US, where he spent a whole 10 years in a tiny space. His previous owners hardly paid any attention to caring for the animal, which led to horrifying consequences. The horse's hooves grew to a length of 3 feet and 3 inches and weighed about 33 pounds, causing intense pain with every step. The rescue operation was carried out by volunteers from the Animal Protection Organization. They were able to free Quest from captivity and start the process of restoring his health. First off, the veterinarians trimmed the overgrown hooves, which allowed the horse to move again without pain. However, returning to normal life was not an easy process. Quest had to learn to walk again, adapting to new conditions. But thanks to the tireless care of his new owners and volunteers, the horse gradually regained his strength and returned to an active life. The awakening of the condor. The condor, released from the zoo where he spent several years in a cage, felt freedom for the first time. He stood still, his huge wings spread wide, letting the wind fill them with life-giving energy. Wings that once seemed like a burden suddenly took on new meaning. They were no longer just a part of his body. They became a symbol of his true nature. They were no longer just a part of his body. They became a symbol of his true nature. The bird made a hesitant attempt to lift its legs from the ground, trying to plunge into the endless sky, but fear held it back. She had never felt anything like this before. But now, everything has changed. Those very wings that once brought so much doubt began to come alive, filling with power and confidence. The condor froze, slowly getting used to its new state, reality. Everything around him was transforming, gaining the meaning he had been missing so much. Reality. Everything around him was transforming, gaining the meaning he had been missing so much. The years spent in the cage faded into the background, making way for the present moment. He realized who he truly was. The years spent in the cage faded into the background, making way for the present moment. He realized who he truly was, and that knowledge was worth any trials. The story of Mufasa. Freedom after 20 years on a chain. Many animals become victims of a cruel reality, spending their whole lives on a chain for the entertainment of people. Lions, tigers, and elephants. They often end up in circuses, where they're forced to perform tricks for the audience. But not all stories end sadly. An example of this is the story of a cougar named Mufasa, who spent 20 years on a chain. Mufasa, who was captured from the wild as a cub, had to spend 20 years chained to the bed of a pickup truck. His only companions were old, rusty circus props. He was used as an attraction, moving from one village to another to participate in shows. Even after the ban on the use of animals in circuses was introduced in 2011, his owners continued their activities. The circus stayed in the shadows for many years, and the hope that Mufasa would ever be able to move freely was slim. But everything changed in April 2015. Was small. But everything changed in April 2015. when the International Animal Protection Organization received information about an illegal circus in northern Peru. Based on the law, the rescuers were able to reach Mufasa. It was touching to see the puma run out of the pickup for the first time. Although Mufasa was freed, his health remained in jeopardy. After many years on a chain, he developed serious health issues. The rescuers provided him with the necessary medical care, proper nutrition, and love. Mufasa's appetite has improved, and he even gained a little weight. His fur has become shiny again. Unfortunately, the consequences of 20 years on a chain took their toll. Despite the treatment, kidney failure and age took their toll. Just 7 months after his release, Mufasa passed away. Shortly after that, the International Animal Protection Organization released a statement. "We regret that he couldn't enjoy life in his natural environment for longer. But the real tragedy would have been if he had never known what it means to be free." The rescued owl is returning to the wild. Vyacheslav Solovey, a rescuer from the Russian city of Zeleznovodsk, did a noble thing by releasing an owl he saved from electric wires. Vyacheslav's family took on the care of the bird, feeding it baby food from a syringe and providing the necessary care. Gradually, the owl began to recover, and with the arrival of warm weather, it was able to return to its natural habitat. The mayor commented on this story with humor, noting that colleagues jokingly suggested that all had gone home. Hogwarts, to meet up with friends and head off to relax in Zeleznovodsk after such a wonderful rescue. Ornithologists note that in the Stavropol region, year owls inhabit the area in winter, with mice being their main source of food. In recent years, the residents of the region have been seeing a whole family of these owls. Mexican wolves have been released into the wild. In December 2023, in Colorado, USA, 10 gray wolves were released into the wild, marking the start of a reintroduction program for these predators, which was approved by the locals. This step was a historically significant event for nature lovers all around the world. A year after their release, most of the wolves successfully adapted to life in the wild. And the state of Colorado is preparing for the next phase of the program, which involves the release of new wolves in early 2025. To ensure the success of future releases, government officials have developed a series of measures aimed at reducing conflicts between wolves and farming operations. Among the new measures are the expansion of the program's staff, improved monitoring, and rapid response in case of livestock deaths, as well as active efforts to educate local residents on how to properly interact with wolves. Environmentalists believe that in the future in Russia, the return of wolves will help restore the balance in the local fauna, contributing to the regulation of herbivore populations and increasing the resilience of ecosystems against climate change and human impact. The reintroduction program for black-footed ferrets. As part of a federal program in the U.S., black-footed ferrets are being bred in captivity with the goal of releasing them back into the wild. A crucial part of their training involves teaching survival skills, like finding food and avoiding predators. Before being released into the wild, black-footed ferrets undergo special training in a camp where they learn to survive on their own. One of the toughest aspects is teaching them to recognize dangerous predators and how to avoid them. Nevertheless, the program has shown positive results. By 2017, around 350 black-footed ferrets had been spotted in various locations across North America. The black-footed ferret has become a symbol of successful restoration of natural populations, showing how species can be returned to their natural habitats. Scientists continue to develop strategies for the reintroduction of various animal species around the world, as natural habitats are rapidly shrinking due to human activity, such as urbanization, logging, mining, and hunting. Because of these factors, the populations of some species are rapidly declining, and their rescue requires human intervention. To preserve endangered species, many of them are bred and raised in captivity. However, one of the main challenges remains the need to ensure the survival of the young by protecting it from predators and providing food. Such protection hinders young individuals from mastering hunting and shelter-seeking skills, which is critical for their successful adaptation in the wild. The rescued tigress, Philippa, was released into the reserve. A young tigress named Philippa was released into the Dichun Reserve in the Jewish Autonomous Region of the Russian Federation. The tigress was found in December 2015, near the village of Filipovka, in the Kasansky district, in the southwest of Primorsky Krai. After losing his mother, a 4-month-old tiger cub wandered into a village, where he was almost attacked by a domestic dog. The owner of the farmstead managed to avoid tragedy, and he promptly notified the park authorities, after which the tiger cub was taken to the rehabilitation and reintroduction center. In the village of Alexievka, where the young predator quickly recovered, the center staff offered the residents of Filipovka the chance to choose a name for the tiger cub, which the homestead owner did. At the rehabilitation center, they worked with the tigress for 14 months, teaching her the necessary hunting skills. Experts are confident that she has mastered all the necessary skills and is capable of surviving in the wild. As of today, there are 10 or more tigers living in the area. Just a few years ago, there were only 1 or 2 individuals. Most of the new tigers were relocated from Primorsky Krai through the Rehabilitation and Reintroduction Center. They not only successfully adapted to their new environment, but they are also breeding. The world is full of examples. When helping an animal becomes an expression of the best human qualities, caring, attention, and the desire to help others, it reflects true mercy and compassion. In the case of our brothers, luck is meeting those who didn't remain indifferent and did everything possible to restore the lost trust. And now, friends, I want to make you a very interesting offer. You have a unique opportunity to become part of our team. If you have video editing skills, you can voice videos in Russian, English, and other languages. Or you can write interesting scripts. We would be happy to work with you. Message our Telegram bot. The link is in the description. That's all for today. Thank you for watching.